Welcome back to the show, Breadwinners. I'm so excited for today's episode. We're going to be talking about boundaries and specifically setting boundaries in your business that will impact your bottom line. As the leader and CEO in your company, you want to make sure that you are setting up a path for helping your clients to understand how to best work with you. And I don't think of boundaries as a negative thing. It's to help you to get the best out of, help you to help your clients to get the best out of your service experience. So I wanted to share with you today a few examples of opportunities that may be perfect for you to create boundaries in your business, and then talk about some ways that you can begin to set them up for yourself. So, the first one that I recently experienced that I wanted to share with you is when clients create emergencies. I was talking to one of my clients recently, and I was waiting for her for our coaching call, and she was a few minutes late for our coaching call. And she apologized when she got on the line, and she said, "I'm so sorry, Jamila, but I had a client emergency. One of my clients called an emergency meeting." Now, this is a big one when other people create emergencies in their business or what they deem as emergencies, and then they put them on you. In my opinion, an emergency is when someone is bleeding or dying or has passed away. Like, those are bona fide emergencies. So we are in the business of improving lives. We are not in the business of saving them. Therefore, I don't subscribe to people putting on top of me their personal emergencies that they may have going on in their business. So I asked her if she has a policy in place for clients that want to schedule last minute calls with her and her team. Under what condition does she accept those calls, and under what conditions is it okay to have a quote unquote emergency, which is basically like a last minute, unannounced, unplanned meeting? And she said that she didn't have anything like that in place. I think it's really important when it comes to clients to have appropriate boundaries so that they understand how you can best help them, how they can work with you, what the expectations are, how things are going to be a collaborative effort to create the best service experience possible, and not that they are just literally like dumping on you or throwing things your way in your business in a way that makes it tough for you to handle the client experience, or tough for you to even manage the clients, or set up a circumstance that you are losing money in your business because of something that the client is doing. I remember earlier in my entrepreneurial journey when I was offering a done for you marketing service, I would have clients that really saw me as an external team member. But in some cases, they wanted to treat me like an employee. So that means, like, if they were sending emails, they wanted me to be responding to those emails within minutes. If they were calling me, it was like a must that I pick up the phone. And I would say I was very young in my entrepreneurial journey, and I felt a lot of pressure to be super responsive to clients. And I have clients that feel that way too, that if they're not responsive, then they're going to lose the business, or someone is going to move on and start working with someone else who can be more responsive. And really, that's not necessarily the case. It's critical that you be able to set up your business in a way that doesn't create a challenge for you or cross the lines between what is actually your work time and what is actually your lifetime. So these are a few examples of opportunities that are really important for you to create boundaries. I had another one pop up recently for me, which was I had a client who was in the habit of canceling her calls last minute because things would come up on, her personal calendar that she had to take care of. And while I understand like life happens and things come up and there might be something on your personal calendar, but where it got tricky is that she actually wanted to make up those calls. So they were calls that had been booked out on the calendar for weeks, months in advance. So basically, as a company, we're holding that space for her. We're holding that slot as her client time for her coaching call. So if she's not, now we do have clients that will need to make a schedule adjustment in advance. And that's typically like they're letting me know a week before on the current call, hey, next week, I'm not going to be able to make the call. This is what's going on. And in which case we typically try to reschedule the client, which is different than someone not being on top of their schedule. And then last minute, like, oh, I want to also do this other thing or attend this additional training or something came up, with my family or kid or something like that they might want to feel the need to tend to. But so what she wanted to do was to pause her payments she was asking the question, like, can I essentially pause my payments, catch up while I catch up on the calls that I canceled, aka missed. And I was like, no, like that's not how we operate. So we actually put a policy in place for that happening so that this is not a misunderstanding, like so that clients understand under what circumstances you can reschedule your calls, under what circumstances we will do a makeup call or reschedule call, under what circumstances we're able to make all of that happen. So I want to share with you the policy that we developed. So the policy that we developed is we will do our best to reschedule any coaching call that might be missed with advance notice of at least 1 week prior to the call. We will not schedule makeup calls for clients that are missed without advance notice. Makeup calls are only offered to active clients, which means actively paying clients, and should be executed within 1 week of the missed call. So what I realized is that if she scheduled a call, if she needed to reschedule a call or cancel a call last minute, two things would be happening. Number one, it would be blocking a spot for a new client. So if we're holding a spot for an existing client as this is your time slot for a coaching call, we're not giving that slot away to another client that's trying to come into our business. So that spot is taken up. So if they cancel that call, we still have essentially held the spot for the client. So we're losing the opportunity to book someone else into that space, which would essentially mean additional revenue for the company. The second thing that I noticed that would happen with delivering these makeup or reschedule calls is because we have a full book of coaching clients. If I was going to reschedule a call or provide a makeup call for a client, that essentially means that I'm coaching on a day that I would not normally be coaching, which is a problem, right? Because then I'm messing up a life boundary of making sure that we are actually delivering for our clients when we want to be delivering for our clients, and that I am working when I'm supposed to be working and not working on coaching when I'm supposed to be doing other things in the business, because I'm not off those other days of the week. You know how some people are like, are on shorter work weeks, like they're trying to do 10 or 20-hour work weeks. I don't necessarily subscribe to like a 10 or 20-hour work week. I really love what I do. I don't feel like I need to reduce down my hours that significantly. So The other time in the business when I'm not coaching is actually when I'm working on the business, where I'm doing content, I'm doing marketing, I'm doing business growth and strategy, working on things for our team. So even though it might not be a coaching day for me, it's still a day where I'm working on the business. And that's another boundary that you may want to set, is making sure that you have certain days in the business that you are working on certain activities in your business, that you have coaching days, that you have days in the business with no calls, that you have days in the business where you're working on your marketing activities or doing sales. That is another important boundary for you to have as a CEO and leader in your company. So what you want to make sure of is that you're not trying to be in a space of people pleasing, which is creating issues in the company and impacting your client delivery and ultimately impacting the bottom line of your business. Like, if you are setting yourself up in a way that you're people pleasing and you can't take on new clients for the week, or it takes several weeks for a new client to be able to get on your book of business because you don't have your calendar in order, that's a problem, right? So these are the things that the boundaries will allow you to prevent when you actually have them in place. Another challenge that I see with our clients is where they need big boundaries is communication methods. And what ways are you allowing your clients to communicate with you? So, for example, I have several clients that are in real estate or who are other types of service providers, like brand designers or graphic designers, where they are, in fact, getting text messages from clients. Like, they've given out their personal cell phone number and they're getting text messages from clients. And so those text messages are coming at different times of the day or night, which might be times where they're not actually planning to work, or they have mentally decided to end their workday, but they're still getting communication from clients. And then you feel obligated, like, I need to respond, I need to be on top of clients, or they're going to think I'm not responsive and they're going to take the business elsewhere, right? It puts you in that scarcity mode because you've given out your personal number and not set a boundary in that way. And one of the things that I've guided my coaching clients on is, maybe you're setting up a separate phone for business so that that's a phone that you can turn off or keep separate from your personal line. Or maybe you're not setting up text message communication at all. I love tools like Voxer, where it's just an app on your phone, right, that you can not pay attention to when you're ready to not pay attention to, or you can turn off alerts when you need to turn off alerts. But then customers can chat with you through Voxer if they need to chat with you or send you communications, but they don't have access to your personal cell phone number. So that's something that you may want to consider. Or you can use a text message service so that clients have access to you through text message service, which is going to your computer instead of actually coming to your personal phone. So these are things that we do sometimes as owners in our companies, because we want to be so accommodating, because we want to be so available to our clients, that we are making this mistake by crossing the lines where the lines between work and life are blurred. And it's okay if they're blurred, but it's not okay if they're blurred in a way that keeps you working beyond where you want to be working, right? You're spending more time on the business than you personally intend to be spending on the business. So how do you begin to set boundaries in your business? I want to give you 5 steps that you can take to start setting up these boundaries in your business. Number 1 is you want to recognize where the points of tension are in your business. That can be tension, that can be discomfort, that can be conflict, any of the things similar to the examples that I gave you today, the situations that I described, right? Where are you facing a recurring challenge in your business that is really showing you an opportunity for improvement, a place where a boundary needs to be set. I want you to think about what are the things that are coming up with clients on a regular basis? What are the things that you personally feel frustrated in your business that a client might be doing or not doing or needs to know, or you have not communicated to them? And this is one of the biggest things. Sometimes we have these habitual line crossers, I like to call them, right? That we feel like people are crossing a line in our business, but the reality is we have not communicated a healthy boundary. We have not communicated where the line was, and you cannot have expectations for people that they are completely unaware of. Let me say that again, because that's a nugget right there. You cannot hold a person to an expectation that you have not actually communicated to them, and then get mad at them that they're not meeting your expectations when you haven't actually communicated to them what the expectations are. So it's very important that you start to set up these expectations with your company. This is what I'm talking about when I'm saying business boundaries. Communicate the expectations that you have so that your clients are aware of those expectations and that they can deliver and act accordingly to what you're setting up and telling them how you can provide your services best. Okay, so step one is to recognize where those blind spots are, those tension spots, those challenges in your business, and identify them and make sure that you know exactly what they are. Step two is to develop a win-win solution. So great boundaries make things easier and more clear for the clients, not more difficult, right? It should not complicate the client process or make someone feel unwelcome in your business, or as if their business is not valued, or as if you are not wanting or willing to give the best service. That's not what we're setting out to do when it comes to boundaries. And I'll share an example of this. I had a designer that I was working with last year who, and I feel like there is a culture now amongst certain groups of people, I'll just say that, where they like to set these boundaries in their business, but they're complicated for the client. So for example, I had this graphic designer who really only wanted to communicate via email, but when I said something in the email that she felt she didn't like or didn't understand, she would call me at 7 a.m. And I'm like, why are you calling me at 7 o'clock in the morning? Well, she has a child that would be sleeping. And so as a working mom, she would try to get work done while she's sleeping. But hey, you're now crossing a boundary for me. You only want to communicate on email, but then now you're calling me at 7 a.m. with questions because you don't understand the email. But it wouldn't actually be that she didn't understand the email, but she wanted me to respond to her emails by 5 p.m. Well, I'm not typically the person on my team at that time who should have been dealing with a contractor, right? It should have been our OBM on the team that was dealing with that contractor. But, because I have a lot of experience in it and I really enjoy working with designers, I decided to take this role on of managing the projects that this designer was doing. But for me, when it was convenient for me to respond, or when I'm checking email in my day, was typically around 4 o'clock. So if I'm responding to her at 4 or 4:30, then she would basically call me like, well, we can't make the change that you're asking because you didn't respond by 5 p.m. So you don't want to create boundaries or policies or rules within your company or guidelines for your clients that make the process difficult for them, like that make the service delivery experience painful. So make sure that what you're setting up is definitely a win-win solution. Okay, number 3 is once you have recognized what the pain point is, You've developed a winning solution. Number 3 is that you're going to write down or create your new policy or boundary for the client, so that you want to establish it, make it clear, and make it concise for the client. Like, don't write no, 2-page policy. Nobody wants to read that. Nobody has time for that. Okay. Simple couple of sentences so that they clearly understand and communicate. Do not use fancy jargon, industry language, complicated sentences. You want to make it so that literally a child, like a 5th grader, could understand what you are communicating to them, so that it's a simple and an easy process for them to follow. Don't use any complicated language, no industry jargon or confusing terms. Have you ever been to the doctor's office and then they do an analysis of you and they're describing what's going on and they're using all these medical terms and you're like, thinking to yourself, English, please, right? Like, can you communicate this in English, please? Right? So you don't be that person, right? Don't use that fancy, jargon or difficult to communicate language when you are developing a specific boundary or policy that you are setting up for your clients. Okay. So number 4 is to communicate the policy or boundary that you have set up to all of your clients, not just the client that the particular situation might have came up with, but you want to make sure that you communicate it to all your clients so that everyone is aware of exactly what happened. Not of what happened. You're not revealing private information about another client, but you want to make sure that everyone is aware of the circumstance. So for example, if you're no longer going to take communication through text message, you're not going to just tell the client who's incessantly texting you. You're going to tell all of your clients, hey, as a company, we've decided that text message communication is no longer effective for us, or we're using this service now for text message communication so that the team can be able to check text messages and not just one person on the team. So whatever your changes are that you're making in the company, you want to make them aware, make all of the clients aware of those changes and not just one person that you're facing this challenge with. And I would highly recommend communicating this in all the ways that you communicate to your clients. So for us, for example, we have a client portal. And so when we're sending messages out, we communicate them in the client portal. We also communicate them. You might also choose to communicate them via email if that's a way that you communicate with your clients as well. Okay, and then finally, last but not least, number 5 is you want to make sure that you add the boundary or policy that you have created to your orientation or your onboarding process for your clients, so that going forward, people know up front, right? Because as you have new people coming in, they aren't aware of a policy or a boundary that you sent out a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago. They have no idea about it. And so you want to make them aware of it in the orientation process, in the onboarding process for introducing new clients to the business, so that they know how you operate, they know how things work, they know how to get the best service experience out of working with your company. And if you don't have an onboarding or orientation process in your company, then now it's time to create one, because this is the main way that you kind of set your customers up and your clients up for success and help them to understand how you will work best. And this will prevent any boundary crossing from happening in the future. Okay, so let's review the 5 ways to begin setting up business boundaries. Are number 1, recognize that there are points of tension or discomfort in the business. Establish what those are so that you know exactly what you need to set boundaries around. Number 2 is to develop a win-win solution for you and the client. Number 3 is to write the policy, aka boundary, that you are now setting in very simple and concise language. Number 4 is to communicate the policy or boundary to your clients. all of the clients, not just one person. And number 5 is to make sure that you add the boundary to your orientation or client onboarding process so that all of the future clients are aware of this new boundary or policy that you have set up in the business. All right, if you have found this episode helpful, then I want to invite you to do a couple things. Number 1, if you're listening to Breadwinning Women on our YouTube channel or watching live on our YouTube channel, first of all, did you even know that we now have episodes available on the YouTube channel? So you can go to youtube.com/Jamila Payne and be able to see the episodes live on our YouTube channel. So if you're over there watching an episode of Breadwinning Women, then I want to encourage you to hit that subscribe button on our channel so you get notifications when new episodes are released. I'm trying to record more of our episodes on YouTube. We're definitely doing all of our guest interviews on YouTube, and I'm working to record more of our solo episodes on YouTube as well so that you have access to those also. Okay, so that's first things first. Make sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Second is I want to encourage you to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to the Breadwinning Women show. This helps the podcast to get found by more people and be able to spread our mission of creating more breadwinning business owners, more women that are becoming high earners in their businesses, making multiple 6 and 7 figures in revenue in their business. This is something that I am passionate about. Only 12% of women are crossing the 6-figure mark in business, and I am on a mission to change that, and I can only do that with your help. So leaving us a 5-star rating and review allows for us to spread this mission of creating more high-earning women in business. Isn't that a fabulous mission to be a part of? So I want to invite you to do that. All right, that is our episode for this week. I cannot wait to be with you next week on the show. And remember that it's not just about learning and hearing the information that you are getting from the Breadwinning Women show, but also taking action on on what you learn is how you can become the breadwinning woman that you desire and that you deserve to be. All right, until next week, bye for now.